It's Thursday, February 23rd, and this is kind of a midday SPY report at lunchtime. You can see here on the daily chart, the SPY has already had an outside day to the downside where we broke above yesterday's high, and we moved all the way down to the midpoint of yesterday, and then that projected to the lows of yesterday. So we have the outside bar. We're still very negative on the day. If you look at the 15-minute chart, we've come down almost in a straight line, so we're pausing a little bit. We could have a secondary sell to take out those lows again, but you never know for sure, given the objectives been met. Although, like I said, on the weekly chart, we're big red now with a day and a half to go. We're projecting down to this red line, and if we could close anywhere down here red, then you expect follow through into next week. We might get there by Friday, because this week, once we broke below these two inside bars, there was definitely a target. I've discussed that on previous videos down here. So we still have a day and a half to get down there. It very well could happen. There's overall weakness, and there's, at this point, even though we've broadened out on this short-term time frame here, kind of a choppy, taking out new highs and new lows. If we're going to get a reversal to the upside, a lot of, constructive action is going to have to take place first. We can get a 2 down and a 2 up. We can get an inside bar and then an up. So I'm not ready in any way, shape, or form to look to buy yet. And we're still looking down here to this red line eventually. But I just wanted to kind of quickly just highlight the way the day unfolded. To me, it was always going to be a critical day this Thursday. We're gapping up. We had NVIDIA good earnings, and the market was gapping up kind of and started out near the highs of the session. So at that point, you had kind of a 2-up day going. And in my mind, I always knew that if we're going to get a 2-up day and it's going to target up, towards that high on Tuesday, then you're going to have to get a good start. You could turn the week up if you get above this open on Tuesday. So a lot of things had to have to follow through in order for that to happen. And I've been discussing after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days down that you had a little bit of exhaustion risk. The ideal, way to get in short at this point was going to be to have some rally to the upside and then a 2 down or some kind of failure like we had today. So I was still very biased to the downside no matter what, and I actually saw that as a welcome kind of opportunity to set up another short trade as long as we didn't get above the open of the week. So what happened was at the very start of the session, we were coming down on the 15-minute chart, and I was almost getting ready to sell short here or buy puts on a break of the first bar. If we looked at the 5-minute chart, I was watching it closely, and if this bar would have closed red and followed through, I would have been buying puts, but then it immediately went higher. So at that point, I was still biased to the downside, but I knew I had to wait a little bit. And if we go back to the 15-minute chart, we were breaking up a little bit on bar number 2. I wasn't quite ready to buy the SPY because I'm still very much biased to the downside. And if we would have had a big move up and then a pullback, maybe I would have bought that, seeing if we were going to eventually take out that weekly open and turn this back up, and this whole move down would have been a failure. But I really wasn't thinking that way. Anyway, as we head up, though, what I did do, given that it was possible we were going green, I kind of looked around the board and I saw, let me show you, Microsoft at the time was kind of having a stronger opening than the market as a whole. And I actually bought some Microsoft stock here. And I didn't really post this because it was just a quick trade. I could show you here. I bought Microsoft at 255.96. I scaled out at 256.50, and I was very leery of it, because other stocks were not looking strong in this sector and everything else. Anyway, I exited the rest of the position at 256.50, so it was an overall small gain. And I could show you on the 1-minute chart how things were breaking down here, and I just wanted to, exit knowing I didn't really trust this follow through. So anyway, that was a trade real quickly. What I was really more focused on was the SPY. And once it started coming down strongly here on bar number 3, I shot a video how I bought puts, and obviously at that point scaled out, and then it's a no risk trade. And you could see on the daily chart now, all the objectives have been met in terms of going short here, getting out the halfway point, taking out the the target here, which is the outside day. So now, when you easily could have taken profits. Those options are up to 7 right now. I bought those at 371. So there's all kinds of ways to do very well with that trade. And there was really, you could just see here on the 15-minute chart, if you were following it, it just gave you no reason to exit until you eventually did take out your target. So anyway, we're now getting our kind of afternoon pause. We're coming down here. This is technically a secondary trade to the downside, but since you've already broadened, it becomes a little lower probability? Are you going to really take out those lows of the day again? You probably will because the market's so weak, but it's not ideally, you'd want a secondary move where, you're going to take out the lows of the day and you also have targets on the, higher time frames to take out. Here, you've kind of reached your target, so it's hard to say for sure. I think if we broaden out a little higher, eventually it'll roll over to the downside. There's still, there is some fair value gaps along the way here we could fill to the upside. So it's lunchtime, so I wouldn't necessarily take this trade if I wasn't already in it. This was the key trade of the day, but I just thought I wanted to point out how when you're really biased to the downside, and you kind of are looking for that after 4 or 5 days going down in a row, there's a little exhaustion risk. These up moves create opportunities to look to get short, and it could be either be failure days like today, or it could have been a 2-up day that didn't really ever. I always said if we rallied and couldn't reach our targets up here, then it would be a great short trade maybe by the end of the week into next week. So we seem to have gotten it today. We'll see where the day ends up. I'm done for the day, but I just wanted to kind of highlight kind of the whole day the way I saw it, and again, the market definitely has bigger picture targets. As we come to the end of February, we're almost taking out the midpoint of January, which could mean we could really fall a lot further. So that's going to still be the kind of the bias until things change here on the weekly chart.